Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Chief Justice Shri D.N. Patel, my esteemed sister and brother judges, Mr. Chetan Sharma, Additional Solicitor General of India, Mr. Rakesh Sherawat, Chairman Bar Council of Delhi, Shri Mohit Mathur, President, Delhi High Court Bar Association, Mr. Jatan Singh, Vice President, Delhi High Court Bar Association, Shri Abhijat, Secretary, Delhi High Court Bar Association, Shri Sanjay Lau, Standing Counsel Criminal, Government of NCT of Delhi, Shri Santosh Tripathi, Standing Counsel Civil, Government of NCT of Delhi, Standing Counsels of the Central Government and State Government, Executive Members of the Delhi High Court Bar Association, Office Bearers of Bar Council of Delhi and other district bar associations, senior advocates, Principal District and Sessions Judges and other judicial officers of Delhi, members of the bar, members of the print and electronic media, family members of Chief Justice D.N. Patel, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to all of you. We have assembled here today to bid farewell to our Honorable Chief Justice Shri D.N. Patel, who has been with us for more than 2 years and 6 months, having been appointed the Chief Justice of this court on 7th of June 2019. Chief Justice Patel was born on 13th of March 1960. He completed his schooling in 1975 with science subjects. After graduating in science from MG Science College, Ahmedabad, he went on to complete MSc with Organic Chemistry from University School of Science in the year 1981. But since he was destined to associate himself with the legal profession, he joined L.A. Shah Law College at Ahmedabad and obtained his LLB degree in 1984 with first class. He also did his LLM with first class and ranked first in the college. The academic record of Chief Justice Patel shows that he was born to excel. He was adjudged a national scholar in the year 1983-84 and 84-85. He was awarded 2 gold medals, namely Principal M.S. Pandit Gold Medal and Bombay Hindu Law Research and Reform Association Gold Medal. Chief Justice Patel got enrolled as an advocate on 28th of July 1984 with the Bar Council of Gujarat. He made his mark as an advocate in a very short period. His practice included a diverse range of cases in fields of constitutional law, civil law, criminal law, and excise and custom law. Chief Justice Patel also represented various authorities like Gujarat Public Service Commission, Ahmedabad Urban Development Authority, Ahmedabad District Panchayat, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, All India Council for Technical Education, etc. He was also appointed as a special counsel of the state of Gujarat for other high courts. Chief Justice Patel's deep inclination towards academics prompted him to embrace an extra responsibility as a part-time lecturer in L.A. Shah Law College for almost 9 years. He was amongst the most admired teachers. Chief Justice Patel was appointed as an additional central government standing counsel by Union of India in the year 1999 and as a senior central government standing counsel for the High Court of Gujarat on 5th of July 2001. Chief Justice Patel was elevated as an additional judge of the Gujarat High Court on 7th of March 2004 and became a permanent judge of that court on 25th of January 2006. On transfer, he took oath as a judge of the High Court of Jharkhand, Ranchi on 3rd February 2009. He had a great tenure at Jharkhand High Court, where he also functioned as the acting Chief Justice on several occasions. Apart from the contributions he has made while enunciating principles of law in a wide spectrum of cases, his continued involvement with intellectual activities in the administration of the court has made him a multifaceted personality. The members of this great bar would agree that the Chief Justice always gave a patient hearing to one and all with consummate ease and always maintained a very balanced temper in and out of court. At the same time, he was firm wherever so required, Chief Justice Patel participated in several national and international conferences held in India and abroad and presented papers on various topics of law. Throughout his distinguished career as a judge, Chief Justice Patel has delivered numerous landmark judgments on various jurisdictions which have immensely contributed towards the growth of procedural and substantive laws. It will be impossible to make reference to each one of those important judgments. However, I may highlight few significant observations made by him. In Government of NCT of Delhi, Collector of Stamps versus CTA Apparels Private Limited, he observed that circle rate was not conclusive evidence for the valuation of a property. He emphatically held that at best, the circle rate can be one of the factors for determination of the valuation and nothing more. In Union of India versus Vedanta Limited, Chief Justice Patel reminded the government of its duty to provide complete protection to the natural resources as a trustee of the public at large, and that the Union of India cannot enter into a contract that permits extraction of resources in a manner that would abrogate its permanent sovereignty over such resources. In Praveen Kumar Chaudhary versus Election Commission of India, there was a challenge to the vires of Section 62(5) of the Representation of the People's Act, 1951, which provided for a bar on a prisoner's right to vote. Chief Justice Patel held that right to vote is neither a fundamental right nor a constitutional right. Constitutional validity of Section 62(5) of the Representation of the People's Act was upheld, noting that the classification of persons who are in jail and who are out of jail is a valid classification, and it has a reasonable nexus with the object sought to be achieved. In Ashok Kumar Agarwal versus Union of India, Chief Justice Patel observed that compulsory retirement involves no civil consequences. He further observed that Rule 56J of the fundamental rules was an extension of the doctrine of pleasure, and that there was no vested right in the employee to continue in the employment. Apart from Chief Justice Patel's work on the judicial side, we have had the good fortune of witnessing his leadership qualities on the administrative side as well. His patience and humility are at large in all that he did. He has always been eager, ready, and willing to address every problem placed before him. His concern for his brethren, including the retired judges of this court, particularly for their medical treatment, is highly appreciable. During his tenure, he created several posts of officers and officials, other officials in this court, and more than 800 vacancies were filled through promotion or appointment during his tenure. His techno-savvy approach played a vital role in adoption of technology by this court and courts subordinate to this court during the pandemic. The steps taken under his leadership ensured that doors of justice always remained open, even during the strict lockdown during the pandemic, as they were converted into e-courts. Under his leadership, a graded action plan committee was constituted to deal with the evolving situation, to surmount the problems being faced due to the lockdown during the pandemic. He took all the stakeholders on board. Because of his dynamic approach only, the video conference hearing and hybrid hearings held by Delhi High Court were applauded not only by other high courts but also by the Supreme Court. His endeavor has always been to ensure minimal use of paper to save and protect the environment. Therefore, he made provisions for use of e-books, e-journals, and electronic gadgets in the Judges Library and its functioning. Under his leadership, Delhi State Legal Services Authority conducted the first ever e-Lok Adalat in 2020 amid the restricted judicial functioning owing to the COVID-19 outbreak. This unique Lok Adalat was the first of its kind in India to be conducted fully digitally on an online dispute resolution platform. Chief Justice Patel inaugurated the new website of DIAC with audio-visual tour of DIAC and publication of first journal of DIAC. DIAC means the Delhi International Arbitration Center. He also launched the website of Delhi High Court Mediation and Conciliation Center, Samadhan. Under his leadership, digital NI courts were established at district courts. These were created with the object of providing hassle-free environment to the litigants for filing, hearing, and disposal of check dishonor cases. These courts are also first of their kind in the country. Currently, 34 digital NI courts are functioning with effect from 17th of November 2020. Under his leadership, the IP division, that is the Intellectual Property Division, has been created on the original side of this court to deal with the cases received on transfer from erstwhile IPAB, as well as the fresh cases of IPR. Chief Justice Patel has always been popular amongst the bar. It was in his tenure that 55 advocates were designated as senior advocates of this court. While we bid farewell to you, Chief Justice Patel, and although we shall miss you in this court, I, on my behalf, and on the behalf of my clients on the bench, and on behalf of the entire court, extend congratulations and best wishes to you for a very successful tenure as a chairperson of the Telecom Disputes Settlement and Appellate Tribunal, that is TDSAT, and for higher glory. I extend my best wishes and congratulate you, your esteemed family members, your wife, Mrs. Geeraben Dhirubhai Patel, sons Rahul Dhirubhai Patel, and Dr. Bhargav Dhirubhai Patel, daughter-in-law, Ms. Rashmi Rahul Patel, and granddaughter Vidmahi. Thank you.
My Lord the Chief Justice, Lord Justice Sanghi, Lord Justice Siddharth Mardul, Lord Justice Manmohan, and Lord Justice Rajiv Shakhtar, all companion judges of this Honorable Court, we are gathered here today to bid farewell to Justice Patel, whom we have had the pleasure and the privilege of having as Chief Justice for the last 33 months. My Lord, your Lordships have endeared your Lordships to the bar and the bench alike with your demeanor, with your compassionate idea of evaluating every situation as it came. To you, sir, and I say this because just before the start of the ceremony, we could hear the crackle of little Vidmahi, and in our parlance, such crackle of the girl child is Mangal Suchak. So, my Lord, this is Mangal Suchak because such crackles are not heard in courts. We bow down, and the wails are normally heard outside the court. But that being so, may I formally, my lords, today say a very grateful thank you to your Lordships. Born as you were, sir, in the year 13th of March 1960, my Lord Justice Sanghi has outlined that. But 2 gold medals your Lordships won. One of Principal M.S. Pandit Gold Medal, and another from the Bombay Hindu Law Research and Reform Association, also being a national scholar in the year 1983-84 and for the next consecutive year 1984-85. Sir, you enrolled as an advocate on the 28th July 1984 and practiced at the High Court of Gujarat on all sides, but specialized, my lords, in constitutional matters as well as excise and customs. And no matter when an excise matter or a customs matter came, we could see your Lordship's incisiveness cut through the chase and come to the point. Your Lordships were a panel advocate on for various institutions like the Gujarat Public Service Commission, Ahmedabad, Urban Development Authority, Ahmedabad, Provident Fund Commissioner, BSNL AICTE in the High Court of Gujarat, also being a counsel for the state of Maharashtra at the High Court of Gujarat. Your Lordship served as a part-time lecturer, as stated by Justice Sanghi, for a good 9 years, both at the level of the LLB and the LLM level. Having been appointed as additional Central Government Standing Counsel by the Union of India in the year 1999 as a Central Government Standing Counsel for the Central Government for the year, from the year 5th July 2001, Your Lordships discharged your functions with utmost professionalism and dispatch. Elevated, Your Lordships were to the Gujarat High Court on the 7th of March 2004 and took oath as a permanent judge of the High Court on 25th of January 2006. Your Lordships took a transfer to the High Court of Jharkhand, Ranchi, on 3rd of February 2009, and I personally had the fortune of appearing in a very tough case in which Your Lordships had let it be known of Your Lordship's no-nonsense approach in an environmental matter, and I was summoned to take the brunt of that, which I did with reasonable success. Your Lordships were appointed as chairman of the search committee in the month of June and July 2013 for the appointment of vice chancellors of Kolhan University, Nilambar Pitamba University, Vinoba Bhave University, Siddhu Kanhu Murmu University, and Vinoba Bhave University for pro-chancellor. You've also been nominated, sir, as member of the general body of the National Judicial Academy, Bhopal, and a member of the Central Authority, Nalsa, with a notification of the 4th of February 2016. And the list goes on and on. Now, my Lord, coming to another facet, that in court, Your Lordship's demeanor was always pleasant and accommodative, more so to the younger members of the bar. And as stated in the pre-Delhi 6 lunch that we all had, there was a clarion call to everybody for the encouragement of junior advocates and to the discouragement of senior advocates coming in to take time to file a rejoinder, and so on and so forth. Your Lordship's wit and humor and one-liners have kept the court light and moving. I am told by one of my CGSEs who's present here that during the tenure of Your Lordships, a new phrase on the display board was shown and continued to be so shown, which was, quote unquote, board is exhausted. It has nothing to do with the 130 matters that Your Lordships referred to before lunch. In one of the recent past, a few residents of the Cooperative Housing Society of Dwarka complained to the Registrar of Cooperative Societies that the elections are not being held. This is a normal complaint, not only in the Registrar of Cooperative Societies, but elsewhere. Nothing is meant to you, sir. After the expiry of an year, when no elections were held, the residents approached this court, and the obvious question to be asked was, why are you not holding elections? But His Lordship says, from where does he find such efficient persons who can sit over the grievances for so many months without doing anything? Justice Patel wanted to call the Registrar of Cooperative Societies to listen to the answer, but refrained from doing so with the observation, the registrar will get an excuse for not doing his work, so let it be. There are many such examples in the past. There is one such instance in the Jharkhand High Court, sir, which you would have forgotten, but we have not, which is this, sir, that in a judgment in the case of Industries Secretary of State Jharkhand, there was the competent authority had dismissed a statutory appeal filed by a private respondent on the ground of no locus standi. That's a shortcut to go about things. But it was an assignee of the auction purchaser, and if at all there was any aggrieved party, it should be the auction purchaser. Your Lordships went on to write, and I quote, "It appears that some persons are overcautious. They have a tendency to look at the serious side of life, which is never in existence. The appellant was of such type of personality. Unnecessarily, this appellant preferred an application, intervention application, before the Secretary, Department of Industries, Jharkhand, in the appeal preferred by the respondent. It is from this stage that the difficulty started for this appellant. This matter was taken to the Supreme Court, and I'm told the apex court, while going through your Lordship's order, which was impugned, had a hearty laugh. Of course, the Lordship's order was affirmed. There are a couple of judgments your Lordships have referred to, which need to be referred to, without of which mention need be made, without in any manner duplicating what has already been said. One is LPA 24 of 2021, Indian Oil Corporation versus All India Petroleum Dealers Association, in which your Lordships dealt with the primary challenge in the LPA, that by the impugned judgment, the effect of the amendment notified in 2017, amending the marketing discipline guidelines, were invalidated and nullified. Justice Patel, while relying on several judgments of the Supreme Court, observed that the state can impose reasonable restrictions on freedom of contract and trade, upheld the amendments to the marketing discipline guidelines 2012 issued by the all marketing companies to the petrol and diesel retail outlets in order to protect the rights of the employees. In Sadr Alam versus the Union of India, which was a PIL in which I also appeared, the challenge was squarely mounted to the appointment of the Police Commissioner of Delhi, as also the order granting inter-cadre deputation and extension of service to him. Reliance was placed on the celebrated case of Prakash Singh. His Lordship, while dealing with the matter at length, relied upon several judgments of the Supreme Court and observed that while reading the directions issued by the Supreme Court in Prakash Singh 1 and Prakash Singh 2, it was clear that the directions given by the apex court and the principles culled out therein were in fact applicable for appointment to the post of DGP of a state to be selected by the state government from amongst the three most senior officers of the department. The judgment has no application for the appointment of a commissioner or a police head of a union territory falling under the AGMUT cadre. Further, it was observed that the Supreme Court's decision in Prakash Singh 1 indicates that the direction 2 under the heading selection and minimum tenure of the DGP are clearly meant to apply for the selection to the post of a DGP of a state, and according to the procedure of selection can only be relevant and applied in that context and can have no relevance or application to the appointment of Commissioner of Police, Delhi. Then your Lordships, in Ashok Kumar Agarwal versus Union of India, which was decided on the 22nd of September 2021, your Lordships dealt with the impugned judgment and order of the Central Administrative Tribunal, where the tribunal did not interfere with the order of compulsorily retiring the petitioner. The order passed by the respondent under 56J of the fundamental rules of retirement of the petitioner with immediate effect were not interfered with, and since then the petitioner already stood retired from the service of the respondent. Chief Justice Patel, while relying on several judgments of the Supreme Court, observed that compulsory retirement involves no civil consequences. The government servant does not lose any of the rights acquired by him before retirement, while a minimum service is granted to the government servant. The government is given the power to energize its machinery and make it more efficient by compulsorily retiring those who, in its opinion, should not continue in the service of the government in the interest of the public. It was further observed that Rule 56J of the Fundamental Rules is an extension of the doctrine of pleasure. If the employer, that is the Union of India, is of the opinion that no useful purpose would be served by continuing an employee in the services of the Union of India in the public interest, such an employee can be made compulsorily retired. I think this applies all across. So then, your Lordships, in Anya Malhotra versus Union of India, decided a PIL where a writ of mandamus was to be issued to halt, suspend all construction activity in the Central Vista Avenue redevelopment project awarded to the respondent in compliance with the order passed by the Delhi Disaster Management Authority during the subsistence peak phase of the pandemic. Your Lordships took a holistic view of the matter and passed a very incisive and elaborate order on both fact and law, and did not interfere in any manner in interdicting the construction of the Central Vista. Similarly, are quite a few of the other judgments of which I have a complete note, which I shall forsake because Mr. Mohit Mathur says that he is never left with any time to address this honorable court. And we have to go by what our president always reminds us of. All said and done, sir, your lordships assume office after the weekend on Monday at 10:30 at TDSAT. And this again goes to show the quote of the Gita, Yoga Karma Sukaushalam. I am where perfection is, and perfection is where perfection is performed, both mansa, vacha, karmana. So this is, in a sense, what we all strive for, to have complete dispassionate perfection in whatever we endeavor to do. Whether we are successful or not is another thing, but the effort is the mainstay of our endeavors. My Lord, the Chief Justice, I wish you and also thank your family members. I know, sir, you are a great Matri Pitri Bhakt, and I must mention your late father, Naran Bhai Lakshmidas Patel, your late mother, Santaben Naran Bhai Patel, your lady wife, Mrs. Giraben Dhirubhai Patel, who is present here in all resplendent splendor, your sons Rahul and Dr. Bhargav, daughter-in-law who tended to the little one who is presently not in court, and of course our very sweet Vidmahi. Its successes are not made on a standalone basis. They require a whole lot of good wishes and blessings, not only from the cosmos, but also from those who are associated with you by means of being in relation with them. So I'm also extending my congratulations and thanks to you on behalf of the central government, standing councils, the formidable senior council panel and the pleaders. On my personal behalf, I'm beholden to you, sir, for a very, very pleasant, efficient, amicable, affable 33 months of your lordship's tenure, which we shall remember with fondness. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, my lords.
Honorable Mr. Justice D.N. Patel, Chief Justice, High Court of Delhi, Honorable Mr. Justice Vipin Sanghi, Honorable Justice, Judges of the High Court of Delhi, Mr. Chetan Sharma, Learned A.S. Additional Solicitor General, Mr. Santosh Kumar Tripathi, Standing Counsel Civil, Government of NCT of Delhi, Standing Counsels, Government Councils, Union of India and Delhi Government, Mr. Rakesh Sherawat, Chairman Bar Council of Delhi, Mr. Mohit Mathur, President High Court Bar Association, Mr. Jatan Singh, Vice President, Mr. Abhijat, Secretary Delhi High Court Bar Association, Office Bearers of the High Court Bar Association, senior members of the bar, Delhi, dear colleagues and family members of Honorable Justice D.N. Patel. I am afforded with this delectable opportunity to say a few words, facilitating and to bid an affectionate farewell to Honorable Chief Justice Shri D.N. Patel, who had been with us for more than 2.5 years. We are very well aware about your Lordship's remarkable and unparalleled trajectory spanning over all these years. Besides being an excellent jurist, your Lordship is a great humanitarian who has actively served the society in the varied role plays. We are happy to know that His Lordship's rich experiences in various spheres, his services are being availed as chairperson of Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal. So you, being the Chief Justice of High Court of Delhi, always upheld the rule of law and strongly curbed the litigation filed with oblique motive, fraught with political, colored and social biases, which could infiltrate the stream of justice. Justice Patel always kept rich and poor, low and high, governmental and non-governmental litigations on equal footing, and discouraged frivolous litigations filed as a matter of routine filing, having no fruitful outcome except to attract the focus of cheap publicity. Lawyers, litigants, and media who throng the corridors of the courtrooms are the best judge of justice delivery system, in which Justice Patel contributed a lot in its development. He is brilliant, considerate, compassionate, and possesses all the qualities of a perfect judge. Justice Patel avoided useless controversies rising in stormy matters and fearlessly strengthened the fiber of justice in the balanced way. On the personal side, Your Lordship, cool temperament and very pleasing countenance is appreciated by every lawyer who has appeared before Your Lordship. Honorable Justice D.N. Patel will be remembered as a gentleman with a belief. While bidding farewell to you, Honorable Sir, I personally and on behalf of the Government of Delhi, my colleagues on the civil and the criminal side, extend our good wishes to you, your family members, and a very successful, joyful, and healthy life. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Mr. Justice D.N. Patel, Chief Justice, Delhi High Court, Honorable other judges of this court, Mr. Chetan Sharma, Additional Solicitor General, Mr. Ramesh Gupta, Mr. K.C. Mittal, former Chairman, Bar Council of Delhi, Mr. Rathi, Secretary, Bar Council of Delhi, Ajender Sangwan, Member, Bar Council, President and other Office Bureau of Delhi High Court Bar Association, Standing Council of State Government and Central Government, senior advocates, fellow colleagues at bar, family members of Justice Patel, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Goodbyes are hard, but goodbyes don't last forever. But memories do. And the memories and wonderful experiences that we shared with Justice Patel will be inscribed in our heart forever. We all are gathered here to bid farewell to Honorable Justice Patel. He is not only one of the finest judges, but an even more wonderful person. His contribution in dispensation of justice is remarkable, and judicial system will ever remain indebted for this. My Lord had completed his law in the year 1984, remained in practice till 2004. Thereafter, my Lord was elevated as Additional Judge of High Court of Gujarat and became permanent judge in 2006. Before joining bench, my Lord was one of the busiest lawyers in the Gujarat High Court. Justice Patel has always given a patient hearing to the bar on issues relating to welfare of legal community and taken every effective step and gave various directions to the government to ensure that all welfare schemes be executed within time. My Lord was sworn as Acting Chief Justice of High Court of Jharkhand. And finally, my Lord had assumed the office of Chief Justice of Delhi High Court on June 7, 2019. Bar has a very cordial relationship with Honorable Justice Patel, as my Lord has always kept the door open for the leaders of the bar and has always been gracious enough to hear the grievance and resolve them amicably. Justice Patel, while acting as Executive Chairman of the Jharkhand State Legal Services Authority, has brought remarkable reforms in the working of State Legal Service Authority, which is really commendable. During the lockdown period, my Lord has very effectively handled the working of the court, and whenever it was required, my Lord has kept a very rational approach while taking decision about working of court, virtual or physical. My Lord was very concerned about the security of bar members in the courtrooms and had taken very effective measures to ensure the safety of judges and lawyers in all courts. Justice Patel has taken suo motu cognizance of gun firing incident in the Delhi Rohini Court and immediately taken prompt action, which shows his deep concern regarding the security and rights of the advocates' fraternity. The list of final judgments authored by Justice Patel speaks for itself about the dedication with which my Lord carried on his constitutional duty while taking care of social reality. I would like to mention the few. In case of All India Progressive Women Association Jharkhand, Justice Patel has laid down guidelines for the implementation of social scheme under Unrecognized Worker Social Security Act 2008. And in another judgment which was mentioned by my Lord Justice Sanghi and my friend Mr. Chetan Sharma in Parveen Kumar case and Anya Malhotra case, it's a landmark judgment. Lordship, Patel is a fine human being and lion-hearted person. And as a judge par excellence, he will always remain in our heart. And while sitting on chair, my Lord has always maintained cool and calm composure. And Bar loves his pleasant temperament. Looking into the legal acumen and unblemished record, the central government has appointed my Lord as chairperson, Telecom Dispute Settlement Appellant Tribunal, and I'm confident that my Lord will set new standards during his new venture. I, on behalf of member of Bar Council of Delhi, convey our best wishes to my Lord Justice Patel for his future endeavor. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My turn has come a little early, thanks to Mr. Chetan Sharma. My Lord Justice D.N. Patel, Chief Justice, Delhi High Court, Honorable Justice Vipin Sanghi, Honorable Justice Siddharth Mridul, other Honorable Judges of the High Court, Learned Additional Solicitor General, Mr. Chetan Sharma ji, Jatan Singh and Abhijat, Vice President and Honorary Secretary, Delhi High Court Bar Association, my other distinguished members from the Executive Committee, former office bearers of the Delhi High Court Bar Association, former President, Delhi High Court Bar Association, Mr. Chandok, Mr. Santosh Tripathi and Mr. Sanjay Lau, standing counsels for the Government of NCT of Delhi, chairmen and members of the Bar Council of Delhi, office bearers of other district court bar associations, senior counsels, dear members of the bar, friends and family of Honorable Justice Patel, including the junior most member, ladies and gentlemen. Bar is always sad when a judge leaves us after a long association, and especially if the person happens to be the leader of the institution. I must say, we always know when days like these are going to come up on our calendars. However, I fall short of words to express the absolute devastation this bar feels at your demitting office, sir. When the captain retires, the whole team suffers a moral and strategic setback. And that too, when we had just resumed our normal pre-COVID lives after a bitter winter that accompanied the third wave of the COVID-19. I am contented to see that we all endured the same and returned to embrace one another in the hallways and corridors of this glorious court. Honorable Justice Patel joined us in the summer of June 2019, probably the last normal summer we can remember. It was just 3 weeks after we had assumed office in the Executive Committee. So naturally, there were murmurs and guesses thrown, and we were speculating in anticipation. My Lord, on his arrival, cleared all the airs straight away and immediately won our hearts with his amiable nature and practical attitude towards the bar and its needs and aspirations. That which started bitter, COVID, is now ending sweet. However, that which started sweet, our interaction with Justice Patel, has been cut short. That is the yin and yang we must come to terms with today, as Justice Patel hangs up his all blacks after a tremendous career as a lawyer and a judge spanning nearly 4 decades, and might I add, after guiding us through perhaps the toughest times of our professional, which happens to be our personal lives. Today, we are fortunate to physically stand shoulder to shoulder in this great hall once over again. Justice Patel was alive to the realities of our lives, and throughout the pandemic protocol would not limit my lords. We hope we lived up to your expectations as well, sir. All said and done, we are back, we are together. So now, let us bid farewell to our most honorable Justice Patel in a manner befitting the traditions. My lords, these 38 years of yours obviously cannot be summed up in words or explained in bullet points. That is a life well lived. Yes, but more so, it is a life that became a message in itself. Notwithstanding, I pay tribute to you, my lords, for your contribution to law, your achievements both as a counsel and as a judge. We are all far too used to a crisp air of discipline in DB1 with little or no room for lackadaisical and the ill-prepared. It is no secret that Justice Patel was a man who got straight to the ones and zeros with the cases listed on his boards. Perhaps his educational background, as mentioned earlier by the earlier speakers, was the reason for his scientific and measured approach to law. A man of few words, my lord never let us feel he was inaccessible and dropped subtle hints to convey his bent of mind. One couldn't call him strict. He knew when the time was right to lighten the mood of the courtroom if tensions ever soared. Shortly after taking office, Justice Patel was faced with the petitions pertaining to the lawyer-police clashes at the district courts in November 2019. Naturally, tensions ran high and tempers soared during the course of the proceedings, but Justice Patel unwaveringly stood by the members of the bar and passed immediate orders protecting the lawyers and took swift action to defuse the situation. Let us not delve further into a regrettable incident. Nevertheless, the members of the bar, sir, of the city felt safe under your watch, and we thank you for that. Having lived through such times and constantly working in tandem created a bond that is unbreakable. When COVID-19 reached the homes and offices of the members of the bar in the summer of 2020, we had a Chief Justice who understood that hundreds stood to lose their livelihood. While all households were locked up and not welcoming guests, my lord welcomed us with open arms, and what a wonderful host he was. Justice Patel unhesitatingly offered every help he could to meet me, Secretary Mr. Vijat, and other EC members during that tumultuous period. Sir, we belatedly apologize to you for the inconvenience that we caused you back then. Thanks to your taking cognizance of our predicament, all that people see today are the smiling faces. Surely, we are going to lose a lot before attempting to win it all back again. That is the circle of life, I suppose. Being the president, I had the privilege to observe my lords from close quarters. I must share some things I found endearing about Justice Patel. Even during this period, we were able to inaugurate certain areas for the facilities of the bar, like the consultation rooms, which we could build during this period, a creche for the lady members of our bar, who simultaneously had to take care of their young ones. And I thank the other honorable judges who were on the committee for inaugurating that. It has not been finally inaugurated, but at least it's been put into place. Justice Patel, beneath his cool and collected exterior, is a man of simplicity and frugal living. Anyone who has shared a meal with him, it is no secret, has not quite shared a meal per se, as my lord rarely eats. Even today, he broke the promise that he gave us. Furthermore, there is common complaint that you have set such high standards of fitness that perhaps we Dilliwalas cannot conform or commit to it. He has a fondness for photography and to dharmic tourism, as I called it, that perhaps now he will have time for all that as well. He's a doting grandfather, as I learned, and probably clicks hundreds of photographs on every second day of his grandchild. So these are informations that we gathered as we continued to meet you during this period. We also learned, sir, that you had some love for music as well, but unfortunately we did not get the occasion to enjoy that with you, though we had a chance to play table tennis, for which you did not give us any forewarning signals, and we saw what we had to witness. My lords, in these last years, we have witnessed such tremendous growth and progress in this court that in spite of an unforgiving pandemic that brought this city to its knees, the establishment of e-filing and virtual court system has revolutionized the way that not just we, the lawyers, but even the common man perceives the justice delivery system of the land as an accessible system. Surely the setbacks suffered by the fraternity outweigh the positives of such facilities, but we are a resilient bar that shall endure it. We are a bar that has in the past and must in the present pull the positive from the negative and ensure that this institution delivers what is meant for it to deliver, that is justice. And we thank you for that, sir. Justice Patel, sir, the time has come now for the painful part, exchanging goodbyes. I once again emphasize the void a Chief Justice leaves for both the bar and the bench, as he is the natural leader and guardian of the institution. Unfortunately, sir, we don't do goodbyes, and on the contrary, as is the tradition, we invite you right back to us as an honorary member of the Delhi High Court Bar Association and continue to look up to you as we march on. With that, I, on my behalf and on behalf of the members of the Delhi High Court Bar Association, wish you, my lord, all the luck, health, and happiness as you begin a most beautiful chapter of peace and relaxation after the toil of yesteryears. Your legacy, however, will not leave us just yet. My Lord Justice Patel's elder son Rahul is beginning his own journey amongst our fraternities. And though he may have quite some shoes to fill, I'm sure he will do so and manage and keep the family flag flying high, while his younger son Bhargav, as a doctor, shall take care of his and the family's health. A predecessor of mine in office told me yesterday that you must convey to my lords that you are leaving behind a very high yardstick for others to follow. Thank you, sir, for your service, and thank you for the memories that you share with us, sir. Thank you.
My esteemed brother Justice Vipin Sanghi Sahab, esteemed sisters and brother judges of Delhi High Court, Mr. Chetan Sharma, Additional Solicitor General of India, Sri Rakesh Sherawat, Chairman Bar Council of Delhi, Mr. Mohit Mathur, President Delhi High Court Bar Association, Mr. Jagat Singh, Vice President Delhi High Court Bar Association, Sri Abhijat, Secretary Delhi High Court Bar Association, Sri Sanjay Lau, Standing Counsel on a Criminal Side, Government of NCT Delhi, Sri Santosh Tripathi, Standing Counsel on a Civil Side, Government of Delhi, Standing Counsels of the Central Government and the State Governments, Executive Members of the Delhi High Court Bar Association, Office Bearers of the Bar Council of Delhi and other District Court Bar Associations, Senior Advocates, Members of the Bar, Members of print and electronic media, ladies and gentlemen. I am deeply touched and shall ever be grateful to the kind words spoken about me. Abraham Lincoln has once said, I quote, "The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time," I unquote. This is perhaps the reason we are able to mentally prepare ourselves and plan our lives accordingly. For me, the day has arrived when the pages of my life shall turn to a new chapter. But before this happens, I have this God-sent opportunity today to recall my journey and thank each one of you and others who have made a valuable contribution in my professional and personal career. As I look back, I can say that the last 38 years of my life have helped me satisfy my unceasing quest to learn the law and serve the justice delivery system. God gave me opportunity of gaining the incredible experience to secure the justice as a lawyer and the opportunity to deliver the justice as a judge, thus giving me a meaningful existence. The reason why I chose the law as a profession was that I wanted to make a difference in a society by serving it, and I wanted to help those who have been wronged. As I look back, I am satisfied with my experience. Judiciary, one of the three primary institutions of the Indian democracy, being an adjudicator of the truth, has been bestowed with both constitutional powers and responsibilities in the scheme of Indian Constitution. It is pertinent to note that the judiciary is a unique institution in the grand scheme of the Indian Republic, as it does not have the power of sword or the purse controlled by other two primary institutions. Our primary task is to render the justice through our orders and judgments by deciding cases and putting to an end the lease, means a dispute, not only between the individuals but also the institutions and the state authorities. Much have been discussed here and abroad about the judicial activism and judicial restraint. Let us be very clear on this concept. There is always a gap between the justice and law. There is always a gap between the justice and the law. Merely because the law is enacted, there is no guarantee that the justice will be done. There is some role to be played by judges. And if there is any gap, a judge has to fill up that gap. And that is known as a judicial activism. And that is inevitable. But as a matter of an exception, not as a matter of a rule. We are not here. This is what I believe personally and I have followed in practice. We are not here to make the law, nor to evolve a policy brand new, but we are only interpreter of the law. But as an exception that I have said, whenever there is a gap between the law and justice, there is bound to be a judicial activism. We are giving several guidelines in several decisions. This is basically depending upon the theory of positivism of Austin. We are concerned with the law as it is and not with the law as it ought to be. It is a matter for a parliament, and in absence of law, it is for the executives to draft the policy as per the bifurcation of the power in the Constitution. I have always followed this theory of positivism, Austin, Salmon, and exceptionally creativity. And one has to maintain the balance between judicial activism and judicial restraint. Thus, the unique position of the judiciary ensures that it parleys with both citizenry and authority through its written word in orders and judgments. I am thankful to the God for letting me serve as a part of this esteemed institution. Our tryst with the COVID-19 pandemic has only confirmed that the life can be very unpredictable. All of us, in one way or other, have experienced suffering. For me personally, the realization was more a spiritual kind, that no matter what our background or identity, or how much effort we put in controlling our lives and our world, there is hardly any say that we have over it. No matter how much we plan, the unpredictability of life is the reality. It is this knowledge of the uncertainty of the life that was brought closer to us by the play of these times. While we are engulfed in a fear of what is to come, we learned how to cherish what we already have. During the pandemic, even though I miss the everydayness of going to the court and being in action like usual, I'm sure I could not have possibly spent so much of precious time seeing my 1.5-year-old granddaughter Vidmahi grow. It is this pandemic that the realization was further reiterated that we are here for a purpose and we have to fulfill it to the best of our abilities. Here I would like to mention that these trying times where rendering assistance to the common man itself became a challenge. The wide ambit of Article 226 proved to be the last resort of the aggrieved citizen in distress. Whatever the perception of an outsider, the fact remains that during these trying times, I have observed the monumental efforts made by the individuals working at all the levels of Delhi judiciary, which is worth applauding. In the words of Martin Luther, I quote, "A genuine leader is not a searcher of consensus, but modular of a consensus, I unquote. My serving meaningfully during my tenure as a Chief Justice of this court would not have been possible but for the support and affection of my brother and sister judges. The burden of administrative work shared by my brother and sister judges deserves special mention. On this occasion, I express my sincere gratitude to Justice Vipin Sanghi Sahab, Justice Siddharth Bradul, Justice Manmohan, Justice Rajiv Shankar, Justice Suresh Kat, Justice Mukta Gupta, Justice Nazmi Wazir Sahab, Justice Sanjeev Sachdeva, Justice Vibhu Bakru, Justice V. Kameshwar Rao, Justice Yashwant Verma, Justice Anu Malhotra, Justice Yogesh Khanna, Justice Rekha Palli, Justice Pratibha M. Singh, Justice Naveen Chawla, Justice Chandradhari Singh, Justice Subramanyam Prasad, Justice Anup Jairam Bambani, Justice Sanjeev Narula, Justice Manoj Ohri, Justice Talwant Singh, Justice Rajneesh Bhatnagar, Justice Asha Menon, Justice Amit Bansal, Justice Dinesh Kumar Sharma, Justice Anup Kumar Mediratta, and Justice Sudhir Kumar Jain. I owe to each one of you bounding gratitude. My bench partners contributed to enriching my judicial experience. I had the good fortune of sharing the bench with bright young judges just like Justice C. Harishankar, Justice Jyoti Singh, Justice Pratik Jalan, Justice Jasmeet Singh, towering personality, and Justice Neena Bansal Krishna. I have made a special bond with each of them, which I will cherish for life. The quality of the bar in Delhi High Court is par excellence. It is more often than not. We as judges learn so much about the law through the knowledge and wisdom of the bar. In fact, the success of the Delhi High Court in becoming one of the leading or premier high court of this country can be credited to the quality of its bar and the dynamic relationship that exists between bench and the bar. A judge lives through the bar, and it is through the bar that his or her opinions are approved or modified. Both the members of the bar and the bench owe a responsibility to the citizens of this country, and each one of us is bound by the mandate of the Constitution to dispense justice to the last man in a queue. The bar has always been cooperative and maintained cordial relationship with the bench to upkeep the high esteem of this institution. I consider myself privileged and fortunate to have been in this court and to have served the cause of justice in a humble way. I thank the bar of Delhi High Court and the district courts, Mr. Mohit Mathur and his team, for their support at all the times. I also appreciate the valuable contributions rendered by Mr. Chetan Sharma, learned ASG, and his team representing the central government, and Mr. Rahul Mehra, senior advocate now, and the Standing Council on a Criminal Side Government of NCT Delhi during the court proceedings, and his entire team. The initiative to bring about the robust infrastructure suitable to the functioning of the court while maintaining the highest levels of safety during the pandemic could not have been possible without the tremendous and concerted effort by the court staff and the registry, many of whose presence may have been hidden, but their contributions unparalleled. I would like to thank all the branches of the registry who have worked effortlessly in these unprecedented times while putting their work before their health and family, especially the IT team. My sincere gratitude to the members of the IT committee headed by Justice Rajiv Shakdar, Justice Sanjeev Sachdeva, Justice Pratibha M. Singh, and Justice Naveen Chawla, the members of the committee, and the medical branch being the pillars. Prior to the pandemic, 60 years old like myself could have never thought of having a virtual e-courts and the norm as a norm and becoming so tech savvy. This has made possible with the exceptional support from the bar. I am grateful to all for standing like a rock in these immensely tough times and facilitating the cause of justice. The significant advancement of this court has achieved today would nowhere have been closed without the support of the court staff, the registry, and the members of our own personal staff who play a critical role in facilitating our work round the clock. My special thanks to Mr. Manoj Jain, the Registrar General and his team, who have taken utmost care of all the issues on the administrative side to ensure the smooth functioning of the registry of this court as well as the district courts. My thanks are also due to Dr. Aditi Chaudhary, Registrar Vigilance, Mr. Parveen Kumar Uppal, Registrar Filing and Listing, Anju Khurana, Registrar Project and Planning, Mr. G.R. Grover, Registrar Protocol, Mr. K.K. Bhatti, Registrar Library, Mr. H.K. Arora, Registrar Civil and Criminal, Mr. Sunil Kukreja, Registrar IT, Mr. Janardhan Tripathi, Registrar Original, Mr. T.R. Nagpal, Registrar Cash, Budget and Accounts, Mr. O.P. Narang, Registrar Management and Coordination Cell, Mr. Sanjay Sharma, Registrar General Administration 1, Mr. Krishna Kumar Sharma, Registrar Rates, Mr. Manoj Kumar Verma, Registrar Special Examination Cell, Mr. Sunil Kumar Kaushal, Registrar General Administration 2, Mr. Naresh Chand Garg, Registrar Medical Facilities, Mr. Sanjay Kumar Sharma, Registrar Establishment 1, Mr. Shekhar Chandra, Registrar Establishment 2, Mr. Pramod Kumar, the Registrar Gazette IB, and Mr. Ravindra Kumar Sharma, Registrar Record Scanning and Digitization Work. The Chief Justice Secretariat is also an active hub which assists in day-to-day work and facilitating the administrative duties of the Chief Justice. I am thankful to the entire staff attached to the Chief Justice Secretariat. I am especially thankful to Mr. J.K. Batra, the Registrar, who worked with utmost sincerity and commitment and took every care of my office. I am also thankful to Mr. Pankaj Kumar, Assistant Registrar, my private secretary, Mr. Amit Narayan, PS, Kaushal Kumar Sachdeva, PS, and Neelam Sharma, PS, who have spared no efforts to perform their duties with efficiency. My thanks are also due to Mr. Satish Gosain, Deputy Registrar, Mr. Sanjay Gupta, Assistant Registrar, Mr. Anil Kumar and Mr. Vinay Kumar, Senior Judicial Assistants, Mr. Ravinder Kumar, Judicial Assistant, Mr. Manish Kumar, Personnel Assistant, Mr. Srinath, Mr. Karan Rao, Saroj Kanojia, Mr. Narayan Singh, Mr. Bharat Mani, Mr. Chitru Ram, court attendants, and Mr. Arun Kumar, dispatch rider, and Mr. Ramesh Chand, chauffeur attached to the office of the Chief Justice Secretariat. No doubt the judge presides over this court, but the efforts of many go into making the court work efficiently. I thank my court staff, Mr. R.K. Gupta and Vijay Ratan, former courtmaster, Mr. Rajesh Malhotra, the courtmaster, Mr. Vishal Benz, assistant courtmaster, Mr. Arjun Singh and Mr. Rakesh Kumar, restorers, Mr. Puran Prajapati and Than Singh and Sachin court attendants, Mr. Jai Singh Rawat, former usher, and Mr. Ghanshyam Maurya, usher, Mr. Surinder Kumar and Dharamveer chauffeurs. I am also thankful to my personal staff at my residence for making my stay at Delhi comfortable and memorable. Mr. Vinayak, Mr. Melvin, Mr. Anand Prakash, Mr. Inder Singh Rawat, Mr. Vikas Kumar, Mr. Vilas Kumar, Mr. Hasmukh, Akash Kumar Ranjit Bhai Thakur, the court attendants, Mr. Manoj, the gardener, and Mr. Rafiq. Special thanks to Mr. Vinyas. He is the one who was initially giving all him hints how to operate the computer. Because I joined in June, court started in July, and I was preparing my notes on computer in vacation, and I was always telephoning him even at 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, 1, 1:30 night. That's why I have to mention his name specifically. Special thanks to Mr. Vinyas, who helped me in operating the computer at court as well as at the residence. I also thank Mr. Krishan Kumar and Mr. Jagat Singh and Parveen Kumar, my personal security officers, as well as all the staff members of Delhi Police who are posted at my residence for the distinguished services rendered by them. With heavy dockets, a judge never has enough time to research. The quality of our judgments is no doubt enriched with the hard work of our law researchers. I would like to express my deep appreciation for all my law researchers, Mr. Abhishek Singh, Mr. Kshitij Arora, Mr. Revant Solanki, and Mr. Utkarsh Singh, for ensuring a seamless flow of work. Our discussions during oral briefings were stimulating, and being around them always made me feel young at heart. I'm indebted to my parents You see, the contribution of parents in one's life can never be forgotten by anybody. One can never forget. I'm indebted to my parents, Sri Naranbhai Lakshmidas Patel and Srimati Shantaben Naranbhai Patel, for teaching me the right values and importance of simple living and high thinking. My family has always stood by me, never complaining about the time I never gave to them because of my professional commitments. When I was a lawyer, I was never looking at home because from morning go to court, you come at the evening and with new clients and then drafting and then reading and left out matters one has to read in the morning. Nobody knows what the judge will ask. Every time you prepare, a new thing will be asked by a judge. So one has to be, sir, very careful, and especially when a tough matter is coming. Tough matter means no matter is a tough. But when facts are against you, the law is against you, few judgments are against you, and you see the judges are maintaining consistency. Some judges are pro-labor, pro-employer, pro-revenue, against revenue, and your matter is otherwise. You see, nothing is wrong. You see, people are criticizing, I can speak so many things because I am basically a good teacher. It is nothing wrong that you are pro-labor, pro-employer, pro-tenant, pro-landlord, pro-government, against government. There is always a development of law by this type of judgments. Several judgments, sir, several judgments will come in favor of the laborers or the employees. and the pendulum will shift towards the employer. You just see the trend. If you are too much against the accused and punishment is a death sentence, and the pendulum will go otherwise, it will be a rarest of rare incident, rarest of rare punishment. So there is always a development of the law or the amendment of the law, the philosophy of the law, theoretical approach will be different because of these judgments. And this judgment means pro-employer, pro-employee, pro-labor, or landlord, pro-government, against government. Types and types of judges will come. Judges are not forever and always. It is like that company's law. Members may come and members may go, but the company will go forever and always. From someone from you will add on this position. So your views will be law tomorrow. So nothing is wrong. But when I was too much over busy, all the care was taken by my wife. I'm thankful to my wife, Gira, son Rahul, and Dr. Bhargav, and who has come with his team of all the surgeons. He is the head of the department, and every one of them is present. Team of more than half a dozen. More than half a dozen surgeons are present. My son is doing MS General Surgery. That is why the team of surgeons is over here. You see, we are accustomed to come to the court daily. Nothing is new for us, right from our advocacy till we retire as a judge. But there are varieties of people who have never seen the court at all. How fortunate they are. And a few fortunates are sitting over here. Sir, I'm thankful to all of you for sparing your valuable time to come all the way from Surat to Delhi. I wholeheartedly express my gratitude to each one of you and wish all of you the success in your life and the profession. Thank you for the cooperation extended, for the love and affection showered on me. I end my address with a prayer to the Almighty in the words of Saint Francis. Lord, I quote, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, the pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant me that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in a dying that we are born for eternal life. Thank you. Jai Hind. Thanks.
May I have your Lordship's permission to close the reference proceedings? Thank you, sir. Proceedings are closed.